Hi, everyone. I can't hear it. Are you guys talking? Because I can't hear anything.
Yeah, we're not talking.
Okay, perfect. Just checking.
To see me with my mask. I should have brought a napkin for you when you eat your delicious dessert. But here, these are tissues.
Mary, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we could hear you.
Thank you.
Your video was on the
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Public Safety. Due to the new local law, we don't have a quorum, so we'll open up for discussion only. And I think we'll go through the pledge. The items on public safety will be pushed up to be in budget and finance. But we will open up and have the discussion right now. Okay? All right. Legislator Foley, will you lead us to the pledge? Okay. Thank you, Legislator Foley. Okay, first item is referral number 5327, approving an intermunicipal agreement between the County of Rockland and the Village of Spring Valley in connection with a 2022 Edward Burns Memorial Justice Assistant Grant award that will go directly to the Village of Spring Valley in the amount of $10,173 and authorizing the execution of the agreement by the county executive. I did see the sheriff. Sheriff, can you shed a little light on this for us?
Yes, this is called the Burn Grant, and it's a community policing grant. And the Village of Spring Valley can't take the grant without myself as the chief law enforcement officer signing off. So we're just a pass-through. They take the whole grant and they do community policing there, and I've signed on board and the county executive's on the same page. So all the funding goes to them, but we do that to assist them.
Okay, thank you. You have another referral number 9361, authorizing the intermunicipal cooperation agreement between the County of Rockland and the Town of Clarkstown for $48,086, Town of Orangetown for $27,492, Town of Stony Point $579, Village of Spring Valley $16,151, and the Town of Haverstraw $44,093 for the partial reimbursement of overtime costs incurred from the period from September 1st, 2019 through August 31st, 2020 for the counterterrorism training pursuant to the 2019 SHSP/LETP Homeland Security Grant program and authorizing the execution of these agreements. Sure.
So every year I apply for and I receive Homeland Security funding. And part of the grant I break up and distribute and share with police, fire, and EMS. This is the portion that I share with police for reimbursement for overtime for when they're all part of our REACT team, which is Regional Entry and Counterterrorism Team, which is the SWAT team, but it also has to do with terrorism. So I agreed to share on a pro rata basis with each police department to backfill their spots when in fact they're training or we have actual jobs. So this is something that's reoccurring every year, and it's come due for that period. We signed off on.
Okay. The Town of Stony Point, they only received 500.
No, it only goes, so in other words, if the person is working, then they wouldn't get paid overtime, right? And if they're not working, or they have to be backfilled, then we would pay that overtime. So a lot of times, they must have been working, that's why theirs is so little.
So,
There
okay.
is a pro rata for them, but they didn't use it based on the fact that somebody must have been working during those hours as opposed to paying overtime or backfilling them to work for that overtime.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Legislator Sassen.
Is there anybody from the town of Ramapo on the task force?
The Town of Ramapo Police Department just came on board. They were on board. They were off for many years because they had a shortage in manpower with their police department. over the past few years. They just came back on board. So moving forward, you'll see the town of Ramapo on this grant and for reimbursement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, okay. Thank you, Sheriff.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
I'm sorry.
it. Lo-
Hi.
Who's that, Legislator Santulli?
Yeah, I just have a quick question for the sheriff. I was just curious, what's the size of this task force? Maybe broken down by the towns and then, or overall in total.
Well, it's a SWAT team. It's a regional entry and counterterrorism team. And there's about 25 on our team. And Clarkstown has their own CERT team. And I've agreed to also reimburse them at a pro rata basis to help them offset their costs for their training. So they're not part of the REACT team. They stand alone, but I have opted to give them some money also.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other legislators? Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate it. Our last item here, referral number 3, 6704A, approving acceptance of a grant award from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services in amount of $656,000 and $668. No county tax dollars to reimburse local law enforcement and prosecution agencies for the expenses related to the implementation of New York Discovery and or pretrial reforms and authorizing the execution of all necessary grant documents by the county executive. I did see, okay. Sure.
Let me just, this is one of the best thing ever happened for the various counties in the state. New York State Division of Criminal Justice Service, EIS, is providing funds to various counties in New York State to support local law enforcement agencies with expense related to the implementation of the famous discovery and pretrial reform that took effect in January. And it's also this what we call the old no bail reform. The reward is based on pro-rata share of court arraignment. That means they took a 5-year average and said, okay, this how much is the amount, and you allocate this based on the arraignments. And the money is from April 22 to April to March 2023. And eligible expense, which just give you a little bit of what the money would be used for. Computer hardware, staff training, overtime costs, litigation readiness, pretrial services, administrative support, include costs of staff and personnel. So that's what this is the second one we received. In 2021, we received $632,000 for the same kind of services. And it's a long process to get this thing done. It took us a year to finish the last year. So it takes a while by the time you do intermunicipal with the 9 jurisdictions and get it back and you pay them. They have to show us how they're going to spend the money. Then we send to the state, say, is that the money going to be spent? Then they let us know if it's okay, and then we proceed with intermunicipal.
Okay. Thank you, John. Can you just touch on the no bail? You did mention no bail
Yeah,
reform
but this,
part.
when people today, if they get arrested with, it's not a felony, they go in and out. There's no bail. You don't have to pay any money to get out.
Okay.
That's what this discovery,
That's what you
this law did.
okay.
You've seen in the newspaper, when people go to jail,
Right.
they don't have to, there's no bail. So what the state decided to do would be nice to all the counties. We'll give you extra money to help you out because now you need extra people, extra staff, a new system, a new data, new software. It's very complicated. It takes quite a bit of time to get this done. So the state is helping out. This is the second grant they give out
Okay.
the last 2 years.
Okay. Well, thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Harriet
yes.
Barnett. Yes, Harriet. Yeah, I'd appreciate it if you could introduce the speakers to us so that I know who's who's speaking, I assume this gentleman is from the DA's office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, Harry
Yeah,
Johnson.
okay, okay. Thank you.
Did you get that, Harry? John Torino? John Torino,
Hi, Harry.
Yes, from the DA's office. Thank you very
Right.
much.
right. Yes. Phil?
You finished with this?
Um,
We vote?
no, we're not voting on
Quorum is 4.
it. Okay.
Okay, we have 3 and Santini is 3.
In person.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
In person. Did Legislator Cornell, Legislator Santuli, did you get that? We need 4 in person to vote. So if Chairman Hood gets here before 6:30, then we'll vote on these items, these 3 items. Okay?
Okay,
All right. Good to see you, Harriet.
Thank you very much. Yes, I understand as well. Thank you.
Yeah, look. Sure. Okay.
Lake the Forest. Thought about it. Hey, it's called Lake the Forest. I couldn't remember it. Asked a few people. They couldn't remember it. Hi there. Thank you for the forms. I didn't have a chance to look at it. It's in the box. Is Mr. Sam Ruley here? Okay. Okay, you'll be up in 2 minutes. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting of the Multi-Service Committee to order. And I thank everybody. Okay. Mr. Ruley will be, due to technical problems, we're gonna hold up for 5 minutes. Want to give this to him?
Changed up the whole schedule. That.
Legislator Foley, Legislator Santulli,
She was on.
Legislator
here.
Soskin,
Here.
Legislator Hood Jr., Legislator Cornell, Committee Vice Chair Legislator Paul, Committee Chair Legislator Earl.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We need to hear Harriet.
Yes, Legislator Cornell is here.
Thank you, Ally. We have a quorum. Um, Adoption of the minutes of August 30th, 2022 meeting, moved by Legislator Soskin, second by Legislator Foley. On the questions and corrections on the minutes, all in favor, all opposed, most minutes approved. Yes, Legislator Soskin.
Make a motion that we should pass all of them at one time.
Okay, you took the words out of my mouth. All right, thank you. We're going to approve all three items. They were discussed, Chairman Hood. Referral number 5327, referral number 9361, and referral 6704A. I'll move them, second by Legislator Chairman Hood. On the question, all in favor, all opposed, items approved, unanimous. Okay, this brings us to adjourn, motion to adjourn, moved by Legislator Soskin, second by Legislator Santulli. All in
Wait.
favor, all opposed, we are
Um,
now adjourned.
Just, I have on my agenda two more items, 4 and 5.
Okay, sorry, those were pulled.
Okay,
Legislator
okay.
Santulli,
Thank you.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, thank
All
you.
right. Okay, that's it. No worry. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting of the Multi-Service Committee to order. I'll ask the clerk to take attendance.
Dr. Vice Bonino. Dr. Yanni Paul. Dr. Alan Weeder. Dr. Vincent Hart. Dr. McGurn. Dr. Soskin.
Here,
You have a call.
thank you very much. First thing on the agenda will be the adoption of the minutes of the August 30th meeting. Moved by Legislator Earl, seconded by Legislator Foley.
No, no.
You're not on the committee, okay. Legislator McGowan. Okay, all in favor? Anybody have any corrections? Anybody opposed? Unanimous. We're going to go to the last item first. It's a discussion item. Mr. Rulli, again, I apologize. As you see, it was a technical problem. Before you start, I just would like to say a few words. It's referral number 9542, an update on the county Stage 2 water emergency and current mandatory water restrictions. On August 17th, a surcharge of 25% will be assessed on unsafe overset amounts of usage of water for residential, lawn, gardens, and landscaping. Each of you have been given a notice which will enumerate exactly what the story is. With all the rain we've had recently, the emergency has not yet been revoked as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. To give us more details, I invited representatives from the water company, Viola, and our Board of Health water company to discuss this. The representative of Viola, after consultation with his superiors, I guess, declined the invitation. The Rockland County Health Department is represented by Mr. Sam Rulli, Director of Water for the Department of Health. He is in charge of this matter, and I asked him to come down and tell us about it, and I have a few questions for him. So, Mr. Rulli, tell us, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. So yes, last month, the commissioner declared a stage 2.
There's a button there you have to push, I think.
It's on, I think. You hear me better now?
Better,
Okay.
yes.
So last month, the Commissioner of Health issued a stage 2 water emergency declaration based on hitting one of the 3 drought triggers that we have in place in our sanitary code. And that was having to do with Potake Pond, which is used for storage to augment flow in the Ramapo River to keep the Ramapo Valley well field running. That's a pretty significant source here in Rockland, and we've seen some unprecedented low river levels. And there's a DEC permit that requires the water company to shut that well field down if the river gets below 8 million gallons per day. So we hit one of the triggers where we were approaching that last month. The declaration was declared. Since then, we're also hitting a second trigger, which is our stage 2 trigger for rainfall. Over the last 3 months, we're below 40% below average. The last 3 months for rainfall as well. So we're technically hitting two triggers. 2 of the 3 triggers are being hit right now. The rain helped to an extent. It got river flow back up in the Ramapo last week. It allowed Veolia to run their wells and still maintain that passing stream flow requirement. But the rivers did recede again over the weekend, and they are still running the well field because the state, the New York State DEC issued an emergency authorization for them, which is helping things as well as the restrictions to keep running that well, and they're exercising that again this week. So where we stand right now is we're still hitting the two drought triggers. We don't need that much more rain this month to get out of the rainfall trigger, and just naturally that other storage trigger ends at the end of this month. But at this point, we're leaning towards keeping the restrictions in place because we do have some warm weather in the forecast, and other than today, no real rain in the forecast over the next 2 weeks. So we're still looking at all the factors, and we'll be in more discussions this week. But I'd say right now we're leaning towards keeping these measures in place.
Thank you. I have a few questions for you. Some of them you've answered. Okay. Who and how is our water problem discovered?
So yes, we watch those 3 triggers routinely through reports from the water company. So again, it's rainfall from the rain gauge that's measured at Lake to Forest. We get daily reports on that. The storage and stream flow that's included in a daily report, as well as the 3rd trigger, which we are not hitting, is storage in Lake to Forest, which is below average but stable right now.
Are you the one who goes out and checks, or do you have staff that does that? Or do you rely upon Veolia?
We rely upon Veolia for the data reporting on those 3.
So in effect, they're the ones who discovered it, and based upon what they said, you implemented the emergency.
Yeah, based on their reporting, we recognize the triggers were hit. Correct.
And who would advise when the emergency is to end?
So that'll be a Department of Health discussion, and we'll speak with the county exec's office as well when making that decision. So we're watching everything on a daily basis right now to see when that can be made.
Again, Veolia is the one calling the punches, so-called. Veolia is the one calling the punches. They're doing the readings and
Yeah, they don't make the decisions, but they are the ones whose instrumentation
And
and
how many
reporting we're relying.
points in the river do they check? Do you have any idea?
So the river flow is actually not them. The river flow is monitored by the USGS through some gauges that are on the streams, and that's available online. But they do measure and report the storage in the potake, the rainfall from the rain gauge, which we do verify with other rainfall data in the area, as well as the storage levels in the forest.
The surcharge is set to go into effect on September 18th, which is next week. Is there any possibility, and there's supposed to be more rain either tonight or tomorrow? Yeah, I think,
I'd say there's a possibility that things could change. If I didn't see like that handful of days with 80s in the forecast, 80-degree temperatures in the forecast, I might be, a little bit more open to the idea of pulling the restrictions. But temperature and rainfall is what drives demand and outdoor water usage, and we still have a chance of causing some issues, I think, if we.
the
if we
county
pull it through.
executive declared the emergency. Is there any relationship between the county and the state on this?
For the emergency declaration. We keep them informed. The same, we're measuring our local metrics, and they also correlate with what measures the state is looking at, and for also putting out drought warnings in our area as well. They don't have the emergency mandatory measures to put in place, but their monitoring is aligning with ours.
Okay, now down to the real business. Who will assess the penalty? Veolia?
The penalty for violating the water restrictions. So yes, that would be the Department of Health, and that would be on visual confirmed violations if someone was violating one of these mandates. I have to say that since we've made the declaration and the notice have gone out, public has responded phenomenally. The water demands have decreased tremendously since that has, and they've sustained that way. So we have been fielding complaints. We've had about 40 to 50 complaints. We haven't found anyone. We put out notices to them. We notify them of the violations, and we've gotten compliance on all those right now. So there hasn't been a need to issue any penalties.
Is there going to be a fine on top of the increased percentage?
So theoretically, if we see somebody who we're getting multiple complaints on is getting notification and is refusing to follow the mandatory measures, yes, they would potentially be fined as well.
And who would set that fine?
That would be the Department of Health.
Who?
The Department of Health would assess that fine.
Okay, and who keeps the money from the fines?
That would be the county,
Department of Health?
Department of Health.
And I guess for residents, other people who do things indoors, you have a meter, and I notice I try to get out a little notice to everybody as far as consumption is concerned. But I guess that's done automatically with your computers.
No, so I think you're talking about the two different things. We're only going to be issuing fines for repeat violators where we actually observe somebody watering their lawn, say. But the rate hike, I think is what you're referring to, that's completely handled by the Veolia. That'll be with the metering, and any usage in excess of those thresholds will be charged a higher rate.
Okay.
So we don't have anything to do with that. That is set by Veolia and the New York State Public Service Commission.
Okay. As far as the computer is set, you have to program it. So we have the program in there right now. And comes the 18th, when you send out the bills, and and I think you usually, I'm not sure if I guess you usually bill based on consumption.
Veolia does, yes, Veolia.
So you wouldn't really know anything till the first bills go out.
So they do have something in place. They have smart meters now, I think on all of their customers. I'm not sure if it's 100% or not, where where their customers can log into a website and actually see what their daily usage is. So they should be able to see what they have been using and be able to make some adjustments before the rate hikes go into effect.
All of these are questions. We're going through very rough economic times now. And all of these questions, as you can see, are based upon trying to help our taxpayers. And you're dealing with an international company here. Okay, and so this is really the meat of what we're talking about. Okay, so when the 18th comes around, you probably have cycled billing from Veolia.
Yeah, I believe that's all done electronically with Veolia, and
So
the
nobody-
thresholds are set so that the higher rate's only gonna be charged at the volumes used over what a typical household would use for indoor water usage. So it's really designed to only impact the outdoor extra water usage.
And the rates, I noticed, for a single family house, it's $2 and something. And for a multifamily house, it's $1, let's see, it's $1 or $1.50 on a greater amount. But what happens to all of these places where there are huge families? Yeah, it's not really equitable on both ends.
That's been brought to our attention too, that folks with large, much larger than average households may be impacted for some typical indoor water usage. I don't think it would be a huge amount, but that has been brought to our attention. We don't control that, so that's something that would have to be addressed to PSC in the next rate.
How can you, if you can't hear me, let me know.
Okay.
And how do you enforce the people who are using well water?
So we would enforce the mandatory restrictions for somebody on a well, the same as we would for any other public supply. So if they're watering their lawn when they're not supposed to be, they would be assessed fines from the health department. But folks that are on, wells are not subject to the same rates.
Wells are not subject.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
not
that's the
subject to the
question
rates.
that
for
probably will
Veolia.
come
Yeah.
up. Okay, and
Mr. Chairman,
as far as the future is concerned, you just give me, I have a few more questions and then I'll throw it open to everybody. What
Thank you.
steps will we take to monitor this in the future?
Well, we monitor this every season. We're looking at it before we go into the summer seasons, what our storage levels are, what our rainfall is. So we'll continue to do that as we normally do. There are some things that may have contributed to that potake storage that I spoke about, that we'll be talking more with Veolia about, and maybe improving some reliability out there.
Yeah. We're talking about the Ramapo River now, basically. Where do you store the excess water?
So Potake Pond is sort of up in the mountains, right by the Jersey border there, and they have a small lake with a dam where they can control the outflows there. So they augment the river flow with that. They also augment the river flow with some of the wells they aren't using for production in the Ramapo Valley.
Because the wells that are located in Jersey you won't be bringing the water back to Rockland, I don't think.
Not from the New Jersey
No.
wells, no.
No. Okay, now we have a dam in New City, Lake DeForest. Is this being affected by the problem?
So that's our third drought trigger that we're not hitting this year. So we're below average for it, but it's still stable and it doesn't look like that source will be compromised this season.
So there'll be no penalty as far as they're concerned, people in Clarkston?
No,
and Orangeburg?
the rate, so our restrictions are countywide, no matter what source you're served by, and Veolia's rates will apply to everybody. All of their rates, the ratepayers in Rockland will pay those same excess rates and won't be limited to any specific area.
And I just have two more questions. We send water to New Jersey from the dam in Clarkstown. Is New Jersey on a similar drought emergency?
I'm not aware of the area that's served by the Hackensack Basin, New Jersey being on drought restrictions. But the only releases that are being made and have been made for many years now are just the bare minimum stream flow requirements. There's been no excess releases made like we used to see a lot of about 10 to 15 years ago. So a lot of extra releases through an intercompany agreement. That there's been some efforts, county level appeals to the state, and that hasn't happened in years now. So it's just the bare minimum going down.
Okay, that completes my questions. Anybody on the legislative Cornell, you wanted to speak? Go ahead.
I did. Yes, thank you very much. Sam, I haven't talked with you in a long time, so I just wanted to pose a question. When it first became known that Veolia was taking over the water situation, I went online and I saw that Veolia was sort of really talking about how they were going to be taking over in a lot of different ways. For example, not just water, but also energy, etc. And that they were incorporating some areas that were not even in Rockland County and were underperforming areas, which to my mind indicated that our residents might end up having to pay for underperforming areas that weren't even in the county of Rockland. And I wondered what is happening about that, if you knew about that, if Veolia is actually doing those things, and what your thoughts are.
So, yeah, and I'm not completely informed on all of this, but I do believe that when United Water New York consolidated some systems that included Rockland, I believe some small systems in Orange and Putnam and maybe one other county all got consolidated under United Water New York. So that to my understanding was done before the Veolia acquisition, and was approved in some of those PSC cases that happened maybe 5 or so years ago, I believe. I'm not aware of them looking to consolidate any more right now. I'm certainly not aware of any PSC cases that have been proposed that involve that yet. There could be intentions I'm not aware of, though.
Okay, well, thank you for that, but I will be interested if you learn anything more about that, if there was anything to that announcement that I'd seen online at that time. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Go ahead.
Just a very quick question. I apologize because I came in late, so I don't know if this question was asked. I understand that due to the emergency that over a certain amount of water usage, the users have to pay an increased amount. Is that correct?
Yes, we spoke about it. Yes, on September 18th, Veolia has a surcharge on water usage
Okay.
above a certain threshold.
Great. Who gets the money?
Veolia.
So they don't have to, doesn't this cheat to the state? All right.
So
I
no,
love the word as cheat because it has cheat in it.
Yeah,
but-
so their rate structures and agreements are very complex with the New York State Public Service Commission. So I know that their profits are controlled. So I don't,
Okay,
the
so,
county's supposed to balance out in there where they don't.
okay,
not
so
all
if I,
just go
can
to
I,
offer.
can I ask for an action item, please? Can I get an action item have staff find out what happens to the extra money? And if it doesn't come back to it should really come back to the locality. But if it doesn't, it should not go into the coffers of whatever Suez is calling itself nowadays. And so I'd like to see a letter go out to the Public Service Commission and all of our state representatives and the governor. I would say demanding, but maybe somebody else might want to ask instead that be done, however it needs to be done, either through the PSC or through state legislation. I'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
We could send out that letter, no problem. You have what he said? Okay. What you missed is that he said that the additional 25% is going to be added, is going to be picked up in the coffers of Veolia. The penalties for people who are watering lawn and are picked up, that was supposed to come back to Rockland County.
Right, but
I
that.
can verify that.
Right, no, I would say that the reason for that is probably because we're the enforcing authority. In other words, if somebody's driving around and sees somebody who's watering their lawn on a Monday when it should be on a Tuesday, so we're going to be, I assume that those violations would be done administratively through the county, correct? That's why we get to keep the money. But in the case of, I don't think there should be a windfall to the water company when people are using more water than they quote unquote deserve or are supposed to during times of low water, unless they can demonstrate, they can demonstrate to somebody that they're actually spending more, then maybe they should get to keep the extra money. But if they're not spending more, that money should not be kept by them. That money should come back to us or should come, and maybe it would be into a dedicated fund for, water conservation education or something like that. I don't know. But whatever it is, I know who shouldn't be getting it, and that's the water company. So, my opinion, I have no idea how anybody else on this legislature feels about that, but I guess we'll find out. Thank you.
I have another question, if I may.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Harriet.
Sam, do you know how some of the multi-family homes are treated? When there's like a one person who is hired by the whole complex, and I know that in the past there would be one bill that would go and somehow was apportioned, I guess, amongst the different departments in or apartment owners. So how is that working with Veolia? How is that being done the same way, or people being treated fairly?
I know that they have a different base rate, and a different threshold than the single family homes. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me there. But I also am not sure how they account for like one large meter, if it's serving multiple families at once. That's a nuance. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Okay. I would really like to suggest that inasmuch as Veolia did not want to attend this meeting tonight, that we need to make it very clear that they do need to attend and speak to the legislature, not just the county executive, which apparently was the response given to the chair of this committee, which was that they didn't have any intention of coming to this meeting. But I do think that that's a very important thing for us to ensure that that company understands that there's more than one body in the county of Rockland that is concerned about water, and we do need them to come and answer questions in the future. Thank you.
Hey, anybody else? Okay, Sam, thank you very much for coming down. And we appreciate it. It was very informative. And hopefully, I don't know if we're on television or not tonight, but we will get out the information that you told us about. And we'll do our share. But remember, do what you can to get this thing finished. Okay, because our taxpayers are hurting.
Understood.
Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Let's move on. Referral number 9260. Keep it. 9263, approving the acceptance of 2021 American Rescue Plan grant funds from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services in the amount of $54,148, no county tax dollars, and administered by the Administration for Community Living to Rockland County Department of Social Services to provide adult protective services, APS, for the period August 1, 21 through May 31, 23. I'll move it, seconded by Legislator Earl. Okay, I notice Commissioner Silvestri is here. Could you just, in a very brief way, tell us about this?
Good evening. This is the additional funds that we just received, whether we're receiving from the American Rescue Plan.
Can you speak into the
for
mic, please? Could you speak into the mic?
I'm sorry. Most people never say I'm too low in my voice, but okay. Basically, this is money we just received from the American Rescue Plan to help supplement the work that we do in adult protective services. It was part of the rescue plan, and so we were allocated $54,000 in additional aid from the state through the American Rescue Plan for the support of APS activities. So in this case, we have, and you'll see in a couple of weeks, you're going to see another one. There's a round two that's coming behind this. But we're using this, we use part of this to purchase a vehicle and some other equipment. And then behind that, you're going to see another one, and we're going to use those dollars to support our, we have a number of clients that, you know, they tend to hoard, they tend to lose their housing because of hoarding and other things. And that will give us some additional dollars to try to help them stay housed. So that'll be the second piece that you'll see coming through in the next couple of weeks.
See. Anybody have any questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Unanimous. Commissioner, that was 8493, 2867, approving a memorandum of understanding in excess of $100,000 between the Department of Health and the Solid Waste Management Authority. Oh, I skipped one. Okay, I'm sorry. Approving the number 8493, approving the acceptance of additional grant funds in the amount of $60,000, no county tax dollars from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, to the Rockland County Department of Social Services, administered by New York State Homes and Community Renewal through its New York State Housing Trust Fund Corporation for landlord rent incentive and security deposit assistance programs under the section of voucher program for a total grant in the amount of $107,490, no county tax dollars, for the period from April 18th, 22 through June 1, 23. I'll move it, seconded by Legislator Tyre. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Unanimous. Commissioner, thank you. Yep. Number 3, referral 2867. Is someone here from the Department of Health? Our famous speaker. Referral number 2867, approving a memorandum of understanding in excess of $100,000 between the Department of Health and the Solid Waste Management Authority, doing business as Rockland Green, to reimburse the county for the Department of Health's flow control enforcement program in the amount of $585,510, no county tax dollars, for the period from January 22 through December 31, 22, and amending the 2022 budget by approving the acceptance of additional funds in the amount of $37,000 from the Solid Waste Management Authority, doing business as Rockland Green, for the purchase of a green vehicle, and authorizing the county executive to execute all the documents. I'm going to ask Legislator Earl. I'm the treasurer of that group, so I'm going to ask Legislator Earl to second it, to move it, and seconded by Legislator McGowan. Anybody have any questions? Okay, this is basically to make sure that everybody's doing what they should be doing with the solid waste. You'd be surprised what we find. Okay, we want to have one more. Referral number 8634, approving the acceptance of grants from New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee to the Rockland County Department of Health for pedestrian and bicycle safety and driver awareness in Rockland in the amount of $46,635, no county tax dollars, for the period from October 22 through September 30th, 23. I'll move it. I didn't call the vote. Okay. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Unanimous. That's 2867. 8634. I'll move it. I said Mr. McGowan is seconded. Anybody have any questions? Someone's here from the Board of Health. Your name, please.
Jacobson.
Speak into the mic,
Melissa Jacobson.
and you want to just tell us how you're going to do this?
Sure. So this is, I think, the 5th or 6th year we've had this grant. It's an annual renewal from the Governor Traffic Safety Committee. It's an education-focused grant. And so we have funds for supplies, staffing to work on outreach through a website.
This is a job. Okay. I don't see how you're going to do it. I don't see how you're going to do this.
Oh, how we're going to do it?
Yeah.
So there's outreach and education. So we go to different events. We have brochures that we supply to different places. There's a website that's going to be launching, that's going to have interactive information on it.
Okay, we got it. Anybody have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Unanimous. Thank you for coming down. And I believe that completes the agenda for the evening. We'll entertain it. One more.
Last one.
We just do this one? Okay, 3977, approving entering into an agreement in excess of $100,000 in the total amount not to exceed $120,000 under RFPRC 2022-020 with Mid-Hudson Pattern for Progress Incorporated to complete assessments and analysis departments for the Department of Community Development for the term July 15th, 22 through July 14th, 24 with one-year renewal option. I'll move it, seconded by Legislator Earl. Paul, welcome. Thank you for coming
Yeah,
down.
hi, this is a contract that we issued an RFP for. It's for community development. It's for a consultant to provide community and affordable housing assessment. This is a requirement of HUD. So the county has to go and perform these. There are a number of different reports that HUD requires us to do on a regular basis.
Are we up to date with all our reporting to HUD now?
Excuse me?
Are we up to date to HUD with all our reporting?
Andrew's here from.
We are in compliance with all of our HUD requirements at this
Fine,
time.
thank you. Anybody have any questions? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
I do, Phil, thank you.
Legislator Grant.
Paul, I noticed that there was only one response to this. Do you have any idea why?
On certain of these types of assessments, there are not a lot of companies that do these. So a lot of it will depend. We did call the one other company that would normally respond to this, and their workload just didn't permit them to respond at the present time. So some of the other assessments that we do, we normally only get 1 or 2 responses. The companies are geographically based. Someone from California is not going to come over here to New York to do this type of study. They need to know the communities and the geographic areas and so forth. But Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress has done this study for multiple counties throughout throughout the state before.
So what are they analyzing? How are they analyzing it and what are the deliverables? Because I only have the resolution actually as a backup.
Okay. Alex, I don't know if you want to go over the requirements of what they're looking at. Basically, this is from the contract of Schedule A. We're collecting data to conduct the Rockland County Community and Affordable Housing Needs Assessment for the Rockland County Community Development Division. The firm will be required to complete tasks and submit reports. They'll be doing an inventory and analysis of the county's existing housing stock, both at an aggregated county total and by each municipality with the most current data. They'll be doing an analysis of the county's households, both at an aggregated county total and by each municipality. Analysis of the gap of existing housing opportunities with the housing need. They'll be doing an analysis of the particular needs of priority groups, unmet housing and service needs, gaps in service, et cetera, identified for home ARP funding, including evaluation of the size and demographic composition of the qualifying populations. And the fifth deliverable is best practice recommendations for Rockland to consider, helping meet existing housing needs and suggestions on the best uses for its HUD funding generally and home ARP funding.
Was this work previously done in-house? No, it's always been,
We've actually never done a comprehensive housing needs assessment. It's something that is necessary really to inform how we spend our home funds in general, but then also was required as part of this American Rescue Plan Act funding that we got, the home ARP funding, which is over $3.3 million. So it seemed like a very good idea to just do a comprehensive study at this time.
I guess another question I had was, is this county tax dollars or is this,
We will be paying for this out of the administration costs from this home ARP funding. Because in order to use the home ARP funding, we have to submit an allocation plan that's based on data. And that's what this study is going to be doing, is getting us the data that we can do the allocation plan and then spend that grant funding.
the last question I had was I noticed on the checklist sheet that there was a workers' compensation issue. Has that been resolved? Okay, thank you.
Hey, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. No, I think we voted already.
No, I interrupted you, Mr. Chairman. You didn't vote on it.
Okay, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Unanimous. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. I thank everybody for coming down. And does the members of the committee, do you all want to sponsor everything? Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I'm not a member of the committee, Mr. Chairman, but I'd be happy to sponsor as well.
Okay. All right.
Good evening. Welcome to this night's meeting of the Planning and Public Work Committee. Will the clerk please call the roll? I believe we have a bare quorum in the room. Michael, I think we're going to need you. Legislator Grant, I think we might need you. And then there's somebody from the audience who wants to come up and be a member of the quorum as well. Go ahead.
Legislator Johnson,
Present.
Legislator Carey, Legislator Paul, Legislator Wolf, Legislator Reader, Vice Chair Legislator Grant,
Here.
Chairman Legislator Yeager.
I'm here if not all there. Thank you. We have a quorum. Everything has to be unanimous in order to pass. And we also have a red dot for 1-5. I'm not sure what the red dot is. Do we know what that is? Am I wrong? Because I have one right here. Do we know what's different?
Yes, when we prepared this resolution, the second whereas, which listed the amendments, we actually didn't have a date for the final amendment. It was just signed September 9th, and we had it added.
Didn't notice that it was September blank in the original. Okay, are there any questions about any of the items on this agenda? I only have one really. Paul, do we know what got lost in translation between your May 27th memo on an energy contract that was set to begin on July 1st, 2022 that we're getting now?
Again, we had issues, it won't take effect until after it's passed, but we had issues getting insurance certificates.
From the vendor.
Yeah, there was some issues, some multinational corporations, they have different divisions, and they bid in one name, and we're providing us insurance certificates in a different name, and the law department wants everything in one name, so.
Makes sense
Yeah.
to protect us. So who's providing natural gas now? Is it under the prior contract? Is it going to be under this? Are they
Yeah, we're
doing it gratis?
continuing with the current contract, which
Okay.
is M&R Energy.
Should we amend this to begin on a certain date other than July 1st? Because that's what it says now.
You can, that's fine.
Legislative Council. Should we be, no worries. 5906, 1-6 is a contract according to the referral heading and according to the body of it also, that's set to begin July 1st, 2022, but isn't actually beginning until we pass the resolution next week, or I guess once it's signed by the county executive. Paul,
Yeah.
Steve, I don't know, so what date should we set it for? Would it be October 1st? I mean, do we know?
The day after the full legislative meeting, I can make sure it gets signed.
Okay, and that would be September 21st, or okay, so why don't we amend that?
I'd still leave it at June 30th.
Okay, if we want to amend it afterwards, we can, but, okay. So let's do that as so amended, and I will move all of the items on the agenda. Legislator Carey, will you second? And we'll accept the amendment that I've made. Or I guess I would accept my own amendment. I have no idea, but the lawyers can figure it out afterwards. Thank you. And are there any questions on any of these by any members of the committee or by any members of the legislature present either here or online? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried unanimously. Motion to adjourn. Adoption of minutes. Do we have to do that? Okay, moved by Legislator Jobson, seconded by Legislator Carey. Any additions, deletions, insertions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried unanimously. Motion to adjourn by Legislator Grant, seconded by Legislator Jobson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a meeting of the Rockland County Legislature's Budget and Finance Committee. Jackie, would you please take the roll?
Legislator Jobson.
Mhm.
Legislator Hofstein. Legislator Yeager. Legislator Soskin. Legislator Hood Jr. Legislator Earl. Legislator Cornell.
Here.
Second Vice Legislator Wolf. Vice Chair Legislator Grant.
Here.
Chairman Legislator Weider.
Thank you, Jackie. Chairman Weider had traveled to Washington DC today. He asked me to fill in if he was not back in time, so that's what I'm doing. Just because everything's fresh in everybody's mind, well, let's adopt minutes first. We adoption of minutes 8/30/22. Moved by Mr. Jobson, second by Mr. Wolf. On the question, all in favor, say aye. Opposed,
Aye.
carries unanimously. Because it's fresh in everybody's mind, let's just go quickly through some of these items. Planning and Public Works, we have items 1-1 through 1-6, which you just heard. 1-6 was amended in PPW, and item 5 is a red dot with a change of the dates. We awarded a contract to the sewer district, for the sewer district to rehab Spring Valley system. We approved the technology replacement project for RCC, purchases of software for the sheriff, natural gas for the county, and a renewal of two contracts, one for GIS and centralized records. If there are no objections, I'll take a motion from Chairman Yeager, seconded by Mr. Jobson, to take all 6 of these at once. Hearing none, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Similarly, we just finished multi-services about 10, 15 minutes ago. We have items 2-1 through 2-5. We accepted 3 grants. We had an MOU with Rockland Green for flow control and a contract for $120,000 with Pattern for Progress. If there are no objection, I'll take a motion from Mr. Soskin, seconded by Legislator Cornell, to take these items 1-1 through 2-5 altogether. Hearing none, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Earlier tonight in Public Safety. Chairman of Public Safety. Chairman Earl heard items 3.1, 3.2, and 3.5. Items 3.3 and 3.4 were pulled before they came to committee. We had one grant for $656,000 to assist the district attorney in discovery and pretrial reforms, and two intermunicipal agreements for the sheriff for some of the special tactics teams. Again, if there are no objections, we'll take items 3.1, 3.2, and 3.5 together. I'll take a motion from Mr. Earl, seconded by Mr. Soskin. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Yes, I did. We have nothing from Economic Development tonight, Government Operations or Environmental Services. We have one item from the Department of Health. It's item 7.1, referral number 9194, establishing one position in the Department of Health. And I know we have somebody here to speak tonight. Please approach the podium. Please announce who you are so that they can hear you on screen as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Soto. I am the Coordinator Communicable Disease for the Rockland County Department of Health. Okay, thank you.
Maria, I know Chairman Weider had a lot of questions about this. If you just give us the responses to those questions, that'd be terrific.
So the first question the legislature had was explaining for the record the new position, the duties, and what it entails. So it's to develop, so the position is for Public Health Specialist 1. It's to develop educational programs on vaccine preventable diseases and need for vaccinations, presents programs to healthcare professionals, the public, community leaders, parents, and school officials, serves as a community liaison and outreach worker to other healthcare professionals, public and private agencies, conducts investigations of vaccine preventable diseases by phone and in person to determine origin of the disease and identify contacts, performs data collection and analysis, prepares written reports, ensures filing of reports as required, maintains epidemiological and case investigation records, and engages in specific projects and studies as required, that are required.
Okay.
Mr.
Nicole, is there
Chair?
anything you'd like to? Yeah, just a minute, Harriet. I'll get there.
Sure, sure.
I know Nicole worked very hard to get Aaron some of these answers. Is there anything else you wanted to add regarding this position?
No, I think that was, summarized really well. I mean, I had reached out to the health department to ask for a justification of this new position, what their responsibilities would be. And I also asked at the time, couldn't one of the existing vacant positions assume these responsibilities? And it turns out the answer is no, because what's required here is someone who has far more skills than those of these current vacancies, based on looking at their job descriptions, which are all readily available online. You could read them, but I believe they were summarized really well. And we were, I was fine with the answer. I believe Legislator Weider was also satisfied with the answers, but he just wanted everyone to hear it, just so that everybody could hear, what this new position entails.
And this is proposed to be funded by money available because of position vacancies within the department.
Yes, yes. As what we discussed at the last BNF meeting, there are substantial salary savings within the 2022 budget because we do have a lot of vacancies. Currently, right now, in the Department of Health, there are 18 vacancies. And if you look at the backup pages that I handed out earlier, there is the chart that just lists the 18 vacancies in the health department, and it totals about $1.2 million. If we were to look at it in terms of like a snapshot of today. But as I said the other night, we traditionally divide that in half, okay, to allow for those vacancies that might be filled at a later time. And also take into account that when we do have vacancies in the county in our full-time positions, oftentimes the work gets completed by using things like relief or overtime. So you have to take all those things into account when you want to project what the actual savings would be.
But I could say without question that there is at least $500,000 worth of salary savings in the health department that will more than adequately cover this new position, which, I mean, even if it was hired tomorrow, it's not going to cost a full year because we're already in September. So, I mean, I hope you're able to find someone sooner rather than later, but I know how long these things take. It could be another 2 months, which means that we're only looking at maybe 2 months' worth of salary cost for 2022.
So Steve, maybe you can help me with this. The new budget's going to be unveiled on October 1st. Why isn't this position just being proposed with the new budget, given the short amount of time that remains in the year?
Under the impression that they wanted to fill this as soon as possible.
Jumped the gun, didn't I, Jackie? I'm going to take a motion from Legislator Cornell, seconded by Mr. Wolf. And then I have a question from Legislator Cornell and a question from Legislator Yeager.
If I'm incorrect, I will get the correct answer.
Okay. Okay, Legislator Cornell, you had a question.
Well, I had a question that I think in a way Nicole answered when she was talking about the position and what it was going to do. I guess what surprised me somewhat was that many of the things that she mentioned in the description seemed so basic for that department. I wondered how they have managed to get along without someone dealing with those very important issues, all of them. But that really was my question.
Maria, do you have a response for that?
Yes, I do. So we do have someone that does it, but it's overwhelming for that one person. We have a public health specialist too that has been running the program for close to 28, 29 years. But because of the outbreaks and all the changes that have been happening in our world, and we've had quite a few of them here beginning in Rockland County, that it's become very difficult for her to do all of the work herself. Right now, that department, it's the immunization program that's under the umbrella of the disease control and prevention, only has that one person and a secretary. It's impossible for that one person to do all these jobs. Plus, considering they still have to do school audits, daycare audits, they also have to do Head Start audits. They have to have meetings with the community constantly. There's certain things in the program that the state requires from us, and as time has gone by, they've added more to their functions. And when she started 28 years ago, it was much simpler. It was a smaller county. Right now, the numbers are just, we probably have like 12,000 children just for the school age that we have to account for and make sure that they're immunized properly. With COVID, that all went down the drain and nobody got immunized. So our numbers are abysmal in Rockland County. We're the lowest in the whole state. And it's being proven by the outbreaks that we've been having. And when an outbreak happens, myself and the staff in the Department of Health, we work very closely together, but it's still not enough to do this. We need someone constantly going out, talking to the physicians, and that's what we're doing now with the CDC, and the state is here helping us at this time, but they will be leaving by the end of next month, and they have started the process for us, but we have to continue it. Otherwise, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And we know that for the whole world, but Rockland County seems to be the center of it right now. It has been for the last few years. The measles outbreak, COVID hit the whole world, so we got it also. We have, at this moment in time, we have the polio. One case is an outbreak for us because that means that we have over 2,000 cases we don't know about underlying that did not get paralysis, because 75% of the people that are exposed to polio do not have symptoms, or they have very minor symptoms. But the minute we have a paralytic case, which we did in Rockland, that means we have approximately 2,000 cases we know nothing about. And those are going to keep going. And now we also have pertussis, which is whooping cough, is increasing also. So all the vaccine preventable diseases are starting to rear their little heads up, and we need to stop it. And we really need the assistance.
Okay, thank you. Legislator Yeager, you had a question.
Could I follow up with the speaker for a moment?
Sure.
Yeah. So thank you for the very comprehensive discussion. Will this new position be reporting to you or to the commissioner or to the person who has been doing that work along with a lot of other work?
She will be reporting to the public health specialist too. She'll be embedded in the immunization program.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. That was a very helpful description that you gave.
Thank you, Legislator Cornell. Legislator Yeager.
I want to thank Nicole for putting together this list of vacancies in the Department of Health. I have a question that I don't know who to direct to, but of the vacancies that are on this list, how many are going to be filled and how many are going to be eliminated in the budget because there are so many vacancies?
I'm Teresa Sullivan, Personnel Administrator in the Health Department. Of the 18 vacant positions, we have I just want to get the correct number for you. 2 positions that employees are being returned to. Just because the eligible list came out and they're either not reachable on the list. We have.
I'm sorry, I'm only going to interrupt you because I didn't quite understand what you said. Are you saying that they're filling one position and they're returning into another position? A prior position because they
Out of
didn't?
the 18 positions, 2 of those positions are encumbered by other staff that have to actually be returned to those positions.
Okay, and where are those 2 staff now?
Those 2 staff members are in.
Lines that will then be vacant?
Correct.
So it doesn't change the number of
No,
vacancies?
no, it
Got it.
doesn't, but it's
Okay.
still.
Understood. Which 2 lines are those? Do you know, of the 18?
Yes,
are on the list?
that is the,
If you could just, the numbers would probably be the easiest way to do it.
7685 and
No, that's-
7167.
Okay, that's not quite what I meant. Number 5, down the left line, there's 1 through 18. Which of those numbers is it? Do you see the document that I'm seeing? It might not be the same document. It's right here.
Yeah.
So it would be,
Is
so
number
7685 is number 5, and what's the other one?
7167.
7117.
17.
Okay, go ahead. What about the other 16?
The other positions we have, four positions are going to be abolished in the 2023 budget we requested.
Okay, which numbers are those, please?
Those are number 3.
Mm-hmm.
We have 8013, which is number 6.
Okay,
Numbers 9. Number 12. And number 14.
okay. I'd like to propose an amendment to this referral, please. That would abolish those 4 positions effective immediately in order to at least balance the books. I assume that the administration wouldn't have an issue with that because it doesn't sound like they're filling them. They're going to be abolished in the budget. I'm not asking you because that's above your pay grade and I understand that. But I'd like to move to abolish those positions at the same time. On this list, down the left side, it's numbers. If you want the position numbers, it's 3, 6, 12, and 14. Since it sounds like the administration's abolishing them anyway, we abolish them now, and this way we balance our budget, so to say, even though we're going to be including a new position for the Department of Health. It just makes me more comfortable voting in favor of this. It will be effective with the establishment of, like we normally do, establish 1 position and abolish 4 positions in the Department of Health, and those are the numbers. I would ask that the mover and the seconder accept that amendment doesn't seem to change anything. Yes.
Say that, excuse me, if I may just say that these 4 positions that we're requesting to be abolished are in conjunction with the establishment of other titles. So if they're abolished now,
Mhm.
salaries of abolishing them to offset the cost of different titles.
I see. So we have to go somewhere else into one of the other positions? I'd like to balance this out today. I think that it doesn't make sense to establish a position when we have 18 empty positions. So what are we doing?
Well, first you have to offer an amendment, the mover and the seconder. The mover hasn't taken, we have.
Who moved it? I don't know. I moved it and then I accept it. Am I allowed to just do that? Give me 1 second. Yeah, sure, go ahead. I apologize. You can't share your 2 cents through me. It has to be through the chair, so turn that way.
Legislator Wolf, would you like to speak?
Thank you. I appreciate.
No. We need levity once in a while. Go ahead.
I've been pretty
Sorry.
quiet, thank you very much. I totally agree with the sentiment Legislator Yeager is putting forth here. I think it may just almost as a courtesy to the administration, though, who have been preparing the budgets and the budget books, and they're finalizing their plans. If we're told that these positions are being proposed to be abolished in the budget that's proposed, maybe it makes better sense just to let that dust settle once we get the budget. The budget will reflect it. We're so close to where the budget's going to be presented to us. And it might just, again, if we abolish them now, it plays around with, it might have an impact on the numbers. I think the sentiment is correct. I agree 100% with you, is that positions that are vacant for a long time should not remain in the budget. We shouldn't be budgeting them, we should take them out. But maybe in this instance, the fact that it is paid for through existing salary savings, maybe we don't need to make that amendment. Just a thought.
Let me offer a suggestion, and maybe I'm way off base on this one. I don't remember us ever doing it, but would it make you more comfortable? It might make me more comfortable. Can we freeze a position or freeze the vacancy release through the end of the year for the positions he's identified, so that we guarantee that there's sufficient funding available? You have no idea, so let's not break new ground tonight. Okay, what do you want to do?
What about the other 14 positions? What's going on with the other? Well, let's
Again,
find out.
I think that's, we're so close to, we don't have the budget request yet. Once we get the budget request, the department heads will come in and we'll have a chance to justify what positions they're retaining, what positions they've proposed to be abolished, what positions that they're proposing to create. And then we can review that in the context of reviewing, each department. Because I think that it's important to take kind of a holistic approach to it and looking at the entire needs of a department over the course of the upcoming year, rather than just focusing on, these, if we create 4, we need to eliminate 4, et cetera. I think it's better to just take an overall view, being that it's so close to budget season. But again, if you feel that's important, I'm happy to vote for eliminating them tonight, whatever your pleasure is.
Can I just say something?
I'll ask, that's directed to the chair.
Okay, so because of COVID, a lot of these tests were held over, and the results are just starting to come out. That's why a lot of these positions were not filled. The tests have just begun. When did they start doing it? March, right, of this year? Yeah, for our positions at the Department of Health, the tests that were going to be given in 18 and 19 did not happen till in March of this year. So we just got them. We started interviewing for some of these positions, not necessarily the ones that she's talking about. So yes, there are still a lot of positions open, but we are in the process of filling them as we speak. We had interviews last week and we have interviews this week to fill some of the positions. So, and there's still some positions that the results are not in yet that belong to the Department of Health.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, just one more question.
Sure, Mr. Yeager.
Is it anticipated that I guess, 14 positions that will ultimately be open once these two other people move back to their former jobs, you'll still have a net of 14? Is it anticipated that all 14 of those positions are going to be filled?
I don't know about all 14. I know about the ones that fall under my division in the department will be filled hopefully. My understanding is I have to let them know before October 3rd. So yes, two will definitely be filled by then. And the other ones I don't know because they're not in my division necessarily. So I don't know when and I don't know I know a couple exams are still pending. The results are not in. So that's why there's been a delay in a lot of this. And there was no hiring in the middle of COVID. This is the first time
Okay.
exams have been given.
I just, my only concern is that we not have a net addition if it's not necessary. That's really where I'm going on this. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. So, and this position is intended to be filled. I'm sorry, this position is intended to be filled on October 1st? Is that the? So then why are we adding the position now instead of? Right. So the reason to establish the position now is because you can't really advertise for a position that isn't created until the budget? Is that why, Steve?
Yeah, that's not gonna, I mean, we wanted to get the process started as soon as possible. This is what I was under the impression. Like, if I'm wrong, I apologize and I'll get the right answer.
All right,
But-
I will.
But, you know, the issue is that we can't really do anything until the budget is actually, the county executive signs if there's any amendments. So that's the.
Trying to get a head start on it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll withdraw the amendment that I proposed for
And
myself.
the administration greatly
and
appreciates it, and so does the,
we're-
you know,
we're-
the Department of Finance.
I will relinquish the floor back to the chair for the vote. Thank you
Steve,
for
do we
your
know if there's a
indulgence.
list for this position?
You know, I'm not. Yeah, no, there is, because they haven't even had.
They haven't
It
advertised
has been
for it.
created.
Anyway, okay, never mind. There are no further questions. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. We have one item left on our agenda tonight. It's an addendum item. It's item 772, referral number 7070, repealing resolution 217 of 2021 with amended resolution number 298 of 2012, repealing an exemption of residential energy sources and services from sales and compensating use taxes pursuant to the authority of Article 29 of the tax law of the state of New York. I'll take a motion from Mr. Wolf. I'm going to take a second from Ms. Cornell, if people don't mind, and from Mr. Yeager. Oh, she's not on anymore? That's a shame. You're a second. Anyway, so tonight we're taking up this resolution that would allow us to fast track the repeal of the residential energy sales tax with the cooperation of the county executive's office and the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance. Usually there's a 90-day period where we have to submit our resolution before this tax waiver can be implemented. Our council has been working hard and close with the State Department of Taxation and Finance to get all the answers. They've assured us that they will entertain our waiver request. So we want to get this done as quickly as possible. I do want to say that regarding the resolution that's in front of you, this is a bare bones resolution. It's been indicated to Alana that the State Department of Taxation has some specific requirements that they want included in the resolution. We will most likely be submitting an amended or red dot resolution on Tuesday, but the clear legislative intent is to repeal this residential energy tax and reinstate the waiver. Effective December 1st, which has very, very material consequences for our residential taxpayers. I have Mr. Wolf, then Mr. Yeager, and then anyone else.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a long time coming. I'm glad we're finally working collaboratively to move this forward. With regard to the language in the resolution, since there's going to be a red dot anyway, I think it might make sense to add a few additional whereas clauses that would indicate the savings to Rockland County residents, if it's permissible.
I was about to say, let me stop you for 1 second, because there are right now 2 drafts up with the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance. They are sending back comments. They want, not only do they want certain changes made, I think they want to actually include changes that will amend the original resolution from back in 1983 that started this whole thing. I asked whether we would be permitted to add language regarding the fact that we enacted this in 2012 due to fiscal distress, that we were doing it now because we were in better position. I did not actually get a specific response to that. There is a much more comprehensive draft right now that's walking around that
understand.
still doesn't have that information. I don't know.
If it's possible.
If it's possible,
If it's
for
legal, if
sure.
it's possible, I think we should absolutely highlight the concern we have, in particular leading up to the heating season, how the cost of heating and cooling has jumped due to
Right.
supply chain, inflation, COVID, the whole 9
Russia,
yards.
Ukraine.
Yeah, I have language. If it's permitted, I'll add it. Yeah.
All right, so you got the flavor there. Nicole, off the top of your head, or not, if you know the answer, approximately what will the impact be of the repeal on county taxpayers? How much will taxpayers be saving?
Nicole, there's 2 pieces to this. One, I think that you want to answer specifically is getting it done December 1st and rather than March 1st, and how much that might be. And I think the annual answer is probably easier.
Actually, perhaps the answer to that is what was either budgeted for, say, 2022 annually, or on what the average tax receipts were. Just so that, I don't need it tonight, just.
Right. No, but I mean, I did look at that. So, what I was looking at is for third and fourth quarter, because obviously with seasonal changes,
Right.
some months are heating and some months are cooling. And as Legislator Grant can tell you, the cost of fuel oil rises and falls, and the cost of energy rises and falls. So it all gets very complicated. But I looked at taking a 5-year average for the third quarter and a 5-year average of the fourth quarter, and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2 million. So
Can you figure out, maybe just as an action item, if you can give us an average monthly
well, okay, so
over the,
here's the thing with
over the last
average
5 years or
Here's the crazy thing about getting an average monthly. The New York State Department of Taxation actually has all kinds of data relating to residential energy, where they actually break it down by month. So I thought, aha, I'll be able to answer your question. Well, here's the crazy thing. When they look at a quarter, let's just say we'll take January, February, March. You look at January and it'll say something like 2.4 million, okay? Then you look at February and it'll say $123.56. Then you look at March and it'll say $4,256. And you scratch your head and you say, shouldn't it be, roughly the same amount each month? Well, the answer to that question is no.
I'll make it even easier for you. If you can take the annual receipts over the last 5 years, give us the average monthly during those annual periods.
Yeah, that's what I do whenever I give you the updates on any of these
No, I understand.
tax things, I give you what I calculate would be an average month. So
Right.
for each quarter, I take the amount and I divide it by 3.
No, I think that may be skewed based on what you're describing. If you can just take the last 5 years and take the annual receipts and divide it by 12, so that we have an average, just an average monthly.
You have that. I give that to you every time I update it, but I will give it to you.
No, I know. If you can just
tomorrow.
put it together in a concise thing and just.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
no
Thank
problem.
you.
Mr. Yeager.
I've said this privately before, but, and might say it again at the full leg when this comes before for a vote, but we, at least theoretically, if we don't get the waiver, hopefully we will, but if we don't, we can hit most of the people who are paying this tax by reducing property taxes for next year by a similar amount. And what that does is it won't hit everybody because there are renters who pay for energy, but most of the people, certainly residents who are paying for energy, are owners because most of the properties in Rockland are owned and not rented. Just as an idea. Hopefully we won't need to, but
It's certainly an idea and certainly something worthwhile to entertain. I'd like to make one comment specifically about the residential energy sales tax. And that is our deficit bond debt service is approximately $13 million a year. In the current budget, we've budgeted $12 million for a residential energy sales tax. Over the life of this bond, your residential taxpayers are essentially paying the whole freight. This has not been a burden to businesses as such or to any other parties other than residential taxpayers. And I think that's something that's important for us to keep in mind. It's an important group that needs relief, especially during this time of inflation. And when we talk about natural gas prices rising very significantly this winter, that doesn't just affect people who heat their home by natural gas. Most of the electrical generating plants in this region and the transport to this region are powered by natural gas as well. Certainly, it's not all limited to that. We have people that heat their home with oil and propane as well, and they'll be affected by this. But it's those people that I think we want to get relief to. Because the sales tax quarters don't match up with our calendar quarters, we need to get this done by December 1st, or our next opportunity won't be until March 1st. So all hands are on deck. We're working hard to get this done. And I'm very, very hopeful that we'll finally get some relief for the residential taxpayer. Are there any other comments? Chairman Hood? No? Doug?
I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Jobson, seconded by Mr. Hood. On the question, all in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
Okay. Good to see you.